Ontario contains 12 million people packed into a single urban corridor, and a fraction of that population spread across a massive landmass larger than France. 300 kilometers north of Toronto, Highway 69 crosses the French River. South of the water, the province functions as a dense economic engine. To the north, the landscape, economy, and culture shift. This regional divide is so deep that local leaders have repeatedly tried to tear the province in half. In the late summer of 1966, a committee of municipal mayors, led by Leo Foucault of Espanola, publicly declared their intention to secede from Ontario and establish an 11th province. These were popular elected officials, not fringe candidates. Their attempt to break away was a reaction to regional conditions that still exist today. The push to leave reflected a growing belief that the region was being administered as a resource colony rather than a collection of equal communities. In the mid-20th century, economist Harold Innis analyzed the government's vision for the North, referring to it as Empire Ontario. This vision relies on a hinterland colonial model. The urban South functions as the heartland, while the North is maintained as a subservient territory designed for extraction. The Canadian Shield holds immense physical value. Generations of workers have pulled millions of tons of ore from the ground, harvested endless tracts of timber, and harnessed the waterways for hydroelectric power. The profits from those raw materials largely bypass the communities producing them. Instead, tax revenues and resource royalties flow directly into the provincial capital in Toronto. Northern municipalities are denied the power to tax the immense wealth being pulled directly from beneath their own streets. They watch billions of dollars leave, then must petition the provincial government for basic infrastructure grants. The region provides the resources, while the fiscal structure keeps the resulting wealth and the power to spend it in the South. The consequences of this wealth flow appear on the roads. Southern Ontario relies on an expanding multi-lane highway network. The North depends on two-lane lifelines like Highway 11 and 17, which are prone to winter closures and accidents. Essential services face similar gaps. Specialized medical care requires hours of travel or an air ambulance, and high-speed internet is still patchy or absent outside the major towns. This isolation creates a hidden cost of living, measured by the nutritious food basket. This chart shows the monthly cost of healthy eating for a family of 4. In Toronto, it sits around $850. In the Northwestern Health Unit, that same basket costs over $1,000 a month. This next chart shows the outer edge of the crisis. In remote communities like Attawapiskat, feeding a family can cost more than $1,900 a month, nearly double the price in connected northern towns like Timmins. These prices are driven by the logistics of distance. Goods must be flown in or hauled over temporary winter roads. Without market competition, retailers pass the high freight costs directly to the consumer. The communities providing the raw materials that enrich the province struggle to afford the food that feeds their own residents. When a population faces this kind of economic extraction, the standard democratic response is to vote for change. The math of the legislature makes that impossible. There are 124 seats in the province. Northern Ontario controls only 11 of them. Even though the region covers 88% of the land, it holds less than 10% of the voting power. A political party can win a majority government by campaigning entirely within the Greater Toronto Area without ever setting foot in the North. This imbalance is colliding with a global economic pivot. The transition to green energy relies heavily on critical minerals, exactly the kind of deposits buried deep within the Canadian Shield. Extracting those minerals requires massive capital, but corporations hesitate to invest in areas with failing roads and unreliable power grids. Without that investment, the jobs vanish, and the younger generation leaves for the South. Because political representation is tied to population, that outmigration erodes the North's remaining voting power. Fewer residents mean fewer seats, resulting in even less infrastructure funding in the future. When Mayor Leo Foucault and his colleagues threatened to break away in 1966, they were looking at the beginning of this cycle. They recognized that the political machinery of the South would never willingly share control. The river crossing at Highway 69 remains the boundary of an internal empire, one that depends on the North's wealth while withholding the means for the North to thrive.